All right. Welcome, everyone, to the DevSide podcast, Friday evening. So tonight, joining us is Howard from the office. We have Liz and we have Wendy. So we're going to be covering a little bit of the events going on this week, some of the stuff that might be, we'll be expecting the next week here and the weeks coming after that, and some of the community questions that you guys have been asking us over the course of the week, from coffee hour, emails, feedback, things like that. So first off, let's cover some of the stuff that's been going on in the office here. Howard, how has everything been?
Good. I mean, this week is generally, at least on the guns front, is generally planning for this coming update, right? Which we've basically froze. It has, new content, which we can go into in a second. So we're essentially freezing, and hopefully people are getting in tests. On the PS4 front, we've been doing a lot, mostly just with submissions. We got all the localization done, and that's 17 different languages. We're basically just going through source submission, and there's a pile of assets that we just completed. So we're just kind of getting ready for the store page submission while trying to nail down on the release date. I mean, right now is looking at late, back half of March to early April, just because, we want to see if we can get in on a couple of the promo opportunities that they have. So that's kind of pending still, which is obviously driving us insane, but, that's pending. We updated the trailer, which is kind of cutting it up and getting that ready. And then, we might have opportunity to be, displayed at retail kiosks. So, you might walk into Best Buy and they'll set up retail kiosks and stuff, and then it will show different games. So we're kind of getting the assets ready for that. So that's on the guns front. On the hamsters front, it's we've been polishing up different mechanics that we set out to do early last month. It's taken us a while, but it's just basically about introducing a couple more fighting mechanics to make the combat itself a little bit more varied. So the enemies now can go into blocking, and you can do charge attacks, try to break their blocks. You can combo off of charge attacks and things like that. And then we're basically trying to wrap up a final boss where it's multi-stage boss encounter again, and we threw in some different mechanics in there that it's a little bit that at least we drew a little bit of inspiration from the Bowser battles in, say, Odyssey. And so there's a little you see some inspiration or some semblance of that in that encounter. So we're kind of just implementing that, and trying to get some more sounds and music in, and just generally polishing up the UI, because there's some usability stuff with Amsterdam right now. It's just a new player, if you just drop them into the game, sometimes they're oh, what am I doing? Who am I pressing? What am I pressing? How do I do this? How do I do that? So partly it's tutorialization, but partly it's just kind of, auditing the placeholder HUD and UI right now for a usability pass, which, we've been holding off just because some of the mechanics we're still working on. With the distorted, basically the stealth action horror project, the last 2 weeks now have been a lot of experimentation on space distortion. So we're doing some crazier things, trying to push the envelope on that front a little bit. Because I mean, in the game, just in core gameplay, right? It's about stealth action. It's about sneaking around, not getting discovered, stealth kill, and in a scary environment. But what we actually always wanted to do is just kind of mess with people's minds a bit, and see how much we can mess with people's minds, really, and to make the space distortion as crazy as we can, without people getting lost in it. So like, we're playing with like space rotating in different planes, or, you have, sort of like this almost scan-like effect with the state where like, you have two alternate versions of reality, and two alternate different versions of a space and level. And, essentially like it will basically dynamically fluctuate. So like, you can walk into one reality and walk out of that and walk into another space and play with things like that. And then, we're playing with like, different trigger mechanisms. So you can turn on a switch and then all of a sudden you can enter into an area that has like that's essentially a different space than you were in before. We're playing with space rotation. We're playing with like space fragmentation. So just doing some like hopefully interesting and like really trippy things. I mean, ideally is like, we want you to like have different sensory reaction to it, right? We want you to be like thrilled. We want you to feel the tension and thrill, like say taking down an enemy and like have that payoff. But we also want to like scare you and mess with your mind psychologically.
So it's like a horror version of Portal? But with more distortion.
Portal is more like, the Portal mechanics is more like, okay, fine, you can actively manipulate space, right? So you shoot, you can create a portal essentially. I mean, what we're tending to is really more like the space could be like changing, and the space could be like, you can like enter into different realities and whatnot. So it's, it's a little bit different, but it's more like, so it's more like kind of like, maybe Metal Gear was something, except that it's in Silent Hill type of environment, and and it's got like these like crazy weird like space changing things that you see in like, I don't know, maybe Manifold Garden with Fez or whatever, like any type of game where like the space gets trippy.
Yeah.
Huh. Psychedelic. So
all right. So
played a little bit of it. It was
it's
really
kind of like so it's a little bit like in a way, it's sort of like what we're trying to get to is like, LSD horror house or something. You walk into a haunted house and you're on acid or something.
It's terrifying.
So you do that for research, right? Like walk into a haunted house for Halloween. It's like, okay, guys, we're doing this for research. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Walk into the haunted house, get tripped up.
It's not illegal if it's science.
Yeah, it's for research studies, right? Oof, that would be awful though. That kind of experience. So yeah, if it's pulled up right, that's going to be amazing. Like really wild. So cool. A lot of stuff going on. On the PS4 front, with Guns of Icarus, anything to report there?
Basically just kind of what I was saying, right? Like we got through certification, right? And
excellent.
Yeah, and so essentially, just a couple minor things that we have already committed to a day one patch, but essentially we're through certification. So it's about figuring out. I mean, we're doing some like some ease of use testing with the UI and polishing up the UI. Is at PSX and at PAX South, some people reported like just navigation clunkiness, if you call it that. And we are just working, like Warren's been working and Matt's been working on addressing some of those. And we really like, it's just kind of logistical right now, just getting all the assets in, which we've done, getting submissions done, turning things around, and like, deal with like rating agency, which is like, anyway, I mean, just trying to get everything finalized for release and getting a release date, and try to see if we can get as many like tap into as many promo opportunities as possible.
All right. So we've had a few questions from the community from earlier this week, and they were curious. Are we going to be looking into doing more for Guns of Icarus in general across all platforms? We're going to be expecting more maps with this release, or sometime in the future, will there be more content as far as costumes and items to select from in the store? Will there be more store items, or maybe something on a greater scale that people can expect.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could have just answered your own question right there, right, Mikko? Because we have a new map in this release right now.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we'll talk
right
about
now.
that in a moment. Yeah.
So yes, I guess the answer is yes. And if we're targeting late March, we are getting another map in. So by the time we release on PS4, there will be another new map, and we'll have actually a couple PlayStation exclusive items. So like if you like get the game on PlayStation, you'll get a couple exclusive launch items as well.
Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, so of course, I mean, content. We actually have I talked to Tim. We actually have 4 maps in the pipe, so we're just gonna periodically release them. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the update that's coming up this next week. Since we are going to be introducing a map, you want to talk a little bit about that?
I think you probably can better than I can.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, we're going to be having an update next week, guys. As you may know, we'll cover more of the details of that update when it comes to all the little the nitty gritty and stuff. But yes, there will be a new map introduced. It's going to be 4 alliance, and I think I'm not sure what map modes they're for, but the environment's completely new. So it's a completely new take on what you're going to be flying through. So it's not a desert environment or anything like that. It's more barren, I guess, is the best way to describe it. So, but you'll be seeing some of that content introduced as well with next week. We have a few other changes that are coming in as well. So with, of course, a community event. So you guys will be competing for a sort of Valentine's/Chinese New Year celebration. So you're the dog, right, Howard? What's that?
Yeah. So I mean, Steam. It's not announced, but Steam has a Lunar New Year sale. So I didn't order I didn't request a special promo. So we'll just be a part of that. I mean, the 2 items that we got though are for Valentine's Day. So the update would drop before Steam sale starts.
There's also a special decal for the Chinese New Year.
Actually, we could. So for Lunar New Year, because all the items are right now are Valentine's Day gear. Well, I'm sorry, they're anti-Valentine's Day. Right? All the items both of the items right now that we have are anti-Valentine's Day because we're anti-Valentine. And although for Lunar New Year,
who hurt you, Howard?
Huh?
I think that's the question we're all wondering in the room.
For someone, okay, I mean, yes, they're married and found significant others over the game. I don't deny it, right? But generally, Guns of Icarus is more conducive to breakups and people yelling at each other than anything else, right? Yes,
that's not true. I found my partner over the game.
Yes, I mean that happens. I'm not denying that I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but
I don't imagine how she exists.
Generally, it's not generally it's where maybe friendship or whatever are tested, right? It's not
friendship forged in the flames of fiery
We're the ultimate teamwork game. Friendship comes first, but also no Valentine, because this game is not here to make friends.
No, it's where people go and yell at each other.
Oh.
It's a yelling simulator. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can probably rebrand it that way for 2018.
Yeah, I mean it's actually replacing Lobbies of Icarus. It's just yelling.
It's just everyone just yelling at once, simultaneously.
We're actually entering the screaming 20s right now.
You guys remember that Steam included us in the Valentine's Day whatever feature sale stuff, right? And I just laugh. I'm like, of course, yes, we're absolutely. It's all about teamwork and communication and whatnot. And I just laugh inside because I'm like, yeah, right.
Little do they know.
Yeah.
Howard's heart is actually rotting from the inside. It's just pure corruption.
Guns with Yvonne, because we'll just yell at each other. I already know it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we do actually have New Year's items too for
like Matt Kibayas, Matt, like we had a friendship. All right, like I would say a pretty well-formed friendship. But after every competitive tournament, like match that
you have to question it.
Like, yell at each other, right?
Oh my god.
There's one time when we lost to like, I forgot, was it Overwatch? Or like one of the like, maybe not writers, but like somebody, I don't remember. And we were so pissed. Like, I had to like just get off calm with them and just calm myself down for like 15 minutes.
15? About like a minute. You're like, no, 15. Flat out, quarter of an hour is gone.
Talk to you right now. You don't want to talk to me right now. Like, we're just gonna just cool off for a while.
Oh wow! Like I come from K-Clan. We just don't live in that same universe as you do. Like we're just like, oh, we lost 5 times. Let's go again. I don't know. I can't imagine being that competitive.
Yeah, well, it's a love and hate, right? So, Guns Vigorous.
Jesus Christ.
Happy Valentine's. Yeah. So we'll be expecting a lot of this stuff being introduced next week with the update. But as a free giveaway, we are celebrating Chinese New Year's, and we will be having new decals for ships as well as fireworks, just to kind of to illuminate that whole theme as well. So stay tuned for that.
Stuff up and making killing more fun.
Right.
That's what Valentine's Day is all about.
We had another user ask us, Howard, does the office still draw bunnies whenever a program they're using crashes?
Oh, well, recently there hasn't been, that just because, over time we did manage to get a few better graphics cards. Okay, so like it's not like we render and it just crashed. Okay, like
It's like a list with graphics cards that are
tell us the story of these bunnies. Like, where does that all stem from?
Just because like our like some of our old like PCs, they're like old and sometimes secondhand. They're like just pieces. They're garbage, right? So like a lot of times we render, we render something bigger, and then the computer would just crash. So.
Oh. But why bunnies? What was like the symbology behind that?
I think just like when it's crashed or whatever, it's like, oh fuck, you have to like re-render or like re-export, and then like people just doodle.
Oh, okay. So it's like, I guess it's sort of like the reference. I was just thinking like, the word bug, where that came from, like the guy actually found a bug or something in the computer.
I believe still with us. I think Emily did.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. We also had another question from a user who said they were looking through some of our old blogs, and they were inquiring about, what happened to some of the older games that we had with Elementia and Extreme Sledding.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's a good reaction to have. Oh, shit. I thought it deleted these games.
Anybody on Earth.
Blast from the past. Yeah.
I cannot believe. You know what? Whoever that is, dude, you get like an extra 4 copies of the game. No, seriously. 4 copies of Guns N' Roses right now.
All right. I'll make a note of it. Wow.
So what are these mystery games?
No, but just, how we started? We started with just like us putting free games on our site. It's me, Alex, Emily, it's Brian, I think, at the time. Like, so we were just like basically making stuff. Because we didn't really. This is before we put Flight on Steam, right? We just started making games, and we had an old site that we just put free games up on our site. And like interestingly, like sledding, right? I mean, this is really like Unity 1.6 to Unity 2 time. Like, cause by the time we released Flight on Steam, it was already like Unity 2 point something. It was already at least Unity 2 and like the Unity 2 era. So like when we made sledding and Elementia, it must be like Unity 1 point something, right? Which is like really super janky and like crude stuff compared to hopefully compared to what we're doing now. But so we just basically made like these little games that you can play on our site for free, just to kind of make prototypes and see like where that gets us, and see if people like. I mean, essentially, it's like it's a learning to make games, right? So we did that. I mean, interestingly, like some way somehow, like say sledding actually got a lot of play. We actually had like a lot of people playing. I think it ended up being like, we had a few 100K people play the game, just because like it was like super early days of like Unity, believe it or not, and that's only 6.5 years ago, and super early days of Unity, like super early days of like 3D like game, right? Like on the web. That was new at the time. So actually, a lot of people just like found us and played. But like we didn't really support it and whatnot, so we just kind of like just took it offline. We just kind of took it down. I mean, but anyways, what is like sledding? It's just basically like you sled down the hill as a Yeti, and we actually built like a really really simple like co-op thing. Well, sorry, like just a multiplayer thing. Like you can like a few people can like sled down the hill and race together on sleds. As
so it's like Guns of Icarus sledding. Sledding edition is like the precursor.
It's like before the Flight of the Icarus. It was just
right.
sled.
Yeah, and then Elementia it's a 1v1 basically board game, like board, digital game.
Mm-hmm.
It has like, I mean, the mechanics actually kind of interesting because like you're basically just building like, it's kind of like a little bit like. It's completely skinned differently, a different theme, but it's a little bit like Horizon's Way, like where like or Air Mac type, you're kind of building your own territory and you control these like elements that will give you like different like types of corruption to use it to kind of take over territories and stuff like for so it's kind of like part I don't know, like part like territory crafting, like for stuff that you can take over territory, and part like go like checkers. So
it almost feels like there's so many little small mechanics and things like you're echoing.
What's that?
You're echoing, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So it sounds like there's a lot of mechanics, like a lot of precursor stuff that it kind of just evolved into what would be Guns of Icarus today, online, the Alliance version today, because you see like the whole map thing and competing with that and working together, or whether it's sledding or something like that, into a ship itself. So it sounds like you guys have taken everything you've learned from the beginning and just built on that with new things and new ideas.
I mean, I think maybe more so with tech and knowledge. And because I mean, a lot of times like we try brand new things, right? Because you went from Flight to Creepers to Guns of Icarus to now like Amsterdam to like some of the new stuff that we're doing.
Be it style.
Thematically, stylistically, and mechanically, they're actually pretty like disparate, and they're hopefully diverse. But we are leveraging going forward. We are like leveraging a lot of the tech and experience that we built up for multiplayer. I mean, at least the new project. So, for example, the stealth action horror game, that we're designing to be co-op, right? I mean, right now we're balanced for single player, but that has co-op in mind. Alex is essentially survival planet exploration game.
Mm-hmm.
That has like small group co-op in mind, and we're playing with like firefighting, right? Like that has co-op in mind, because I mean that is like really obviously co-op, like obviously a good fit for co-op.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things that we do are going to be multiplayer and co-op in mind. They're not necessarily going to be competitive, but at least like that we co-op just because we sort of have experience building up like that. At least we know how to technically, like we know how to build a co-op game, like, on the back end and whatever. So
okay, cool. It sounds like a lot of interesting things. Yeah, so I guess just to kind of round this up a little bit, we will be having an update next week. We'll make more announcements when that gets closer to that time, guys. And then for the time being, you can check out the Iron Fork of Friday, which is the hour after this stream. And then you can also participate in the Chaos Saturday Skirmish, as well as the Sunday Community Skirmish, which is more of a team-based organized event as well. All of them offer their own strengths and weaknesses. If you're an individual, the first two are definitely up for you. If you have a lot of friends that you want to join in on actual structured event, you can try out the one on Sunday. And they're really all well-organized, really great groups. And I think we also have the Mining Munker thing on Monday. They always like to name after the days, I guess, but it's a running theme, I guess. But yeah, we'll be back again for Tuesday's Def Games, and then we'll be following that. I guess we'll be announcing all the updates and the changes going on next week. So stay tuned, guys. And on that note, I guess have a good weekend, and thanks for flying with Guns of Icarus.